vanonzwa rauranyi soko rakanaka murise pasi kuti vanhu vese ngarinzveri uyo unoda masoko pagomonemikana baba wadikanwa ari kudaidza uyo unoda uyo unouya nasi uya pinda pamusiwo wazarurirwa Jesu ndiye nzira yeidiyega uyo unoda tumasoko pagomonemikana baba wadikanwa ari kudaidza uyo unoda Izwi uyo unoda upenyu narini uyo unoda tumasoko pagomonemikana baba wadikanwa ari kudaidza uyo unoda masoko pagomonemikana baba wadikanwa ari kudaidza uyo unoda baba wadikanwa ari kudaidza uyo unoda baba wadikanwa ari kudaidza uyo unoda
Greetings kwaziso kwamuri mose hama neshamwari. Toda kukuchingamidzai nemufaro mukuru. Ndinowanzofarira kuti wero wati welcome. Tinokuchingamidzai nemufaro mukuru. Chirongwa chenyu chamunoziva chemazuva ese chamunofarira, the journey of life. Hongu tiri parwendo hama neshamwari. Mukati merwendo urwu tinosangana nemaexperiences akasiyana siyana, zvimwe zvakajairika, zvimwe zvinoshamisa, tichidaro tichienda nerwendo rweupenyu. Mukati mezuva ranhasi tiri pano kuti my guest anofarira word rekuti interrogate. We want to interrogate the topic here, albinism, living with albinism. That's the one we want to engage and interrogate at a close range. So ini ndinonzi Watson Mbiriri. I'm a pastor uye zvakare ndirini host wechirongwa chino. Ndoda kuti ndichingamidze muchindibatsira kuti tichingamidze mukoma vauya kuzova nesu, mukoma Marvelous Muchada. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Pastor. Since I'm talking to the pastor, allow me to greet you with a verse.
Oh, hallelujah.
Jeremiah chapter 3,
yes.
verse 15.
Yes.
God promised,
yes.
I shall give you pastors according to my own heart.
Wow.
Which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. You have just made that verse so dear to my heart. Jeremiah 3:15.
Thank you.
Wow. And may the Lord give us such pastors.
Amen.
Yes. Amen. And so thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That's a very warm, I don't think a greeting can get warmer than that. That's a very warm greeting and I really appreciate it. And so, welcome to the program and thank you so much for coming to help us with the conversation today. We are interrogating the subject of living with albinism. So, first things first. May you tell us a little bit more about yourself so we get to know who you are, what you do, and so on. Yes.
Allow me also to greet our audience with
Yes.
a verse as well.
With another verse.
Yeah.
Keep them coming.
I'll greet them with Genesis, with the first day of the first week. That's Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 to 5.
Okay.
In the beginning,
Yes.
God created the heavens
Yes.
and the earth.
Yes.
The earth was without form and void.
Yes.
The darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good and divided the light from the darkness. The light he called the day. The darkness he called the night. The evening and the morning were the first day. Greetings to all our viewers. Marvelous was the name I was given on October 24 when I was born. I am the chaplain of Little Rock International School, the Norton campus, and I'm also a student at Solus University.
Thank you so much. So you are a chaplain and you are also studying theology.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for that verse. Barashit bere bara Elohim shamayim va'agetz. Va'agetz hayeta tohu vabohu.
That's the original tongue God chose to speak to his
Yes,
audience.
that's in Hebrew. That's in the original language. It's so beautiful.
Powerful.
And so it's unfortunate that when we learn Hebrew, we're not learned to speak it, but rather to read it. So it's easier when I look at the text to read and to really understand. And sometimes when you look at these, you forget. It was once difficult. It just looks like it's common. Thank you so much.
True.
But anyway, we're not talking about Hebrew, but thanks for that greeting, telling us about the beginning and how God brought everything into existence out of the darkness and nothingness that was there. And he brought order where there was chaos, light where there was darkness, and life where there was lifelessness. Thank you so much for that. So, talking about albinism, what is it and where does it come from? Albinism.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Pastor.
Yes.
The word albinism comes from the Latin word albus,
Albus.
which simply means white.
Oh, okay.
So, albinism, it's genetically inherited.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and from both parents, and the child can be white. What usually reflects, number one, when the child is born, is the hair. The white hair, they realize this is an albino.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing, which is also like the eyes will be light.
Okay.
The darker the eyes, the more the melanin. The lighter the eyes, the shorter the vision. And generally also as the child grows, it's realized that even the skin, it's also white.
Okay.
Question number 2 that you asked, what causes albinism? I tried to ascertain the cause. I could not find the reason for the mutations and for the defects.
In the genes.
In the
At the
genes.
genetic level.
I'm yet to understand. Maybe that is sin, because I don't think God created albinism by the word God. So maybe it's sin that causes those mutations. So if there be those mutations from both ends, the mother and the father, and that's the recessive allele, it gives birth to a child with albinism.
Okay. So in other words, we're just saying it's a genetic condition, a genetic defect that would have happened at that level, at the genetic level.
That's
and
true.
so if 2 parents or a man and a woman come together sexually and conceive, when both of them carry like the recessive, then this can manifest in one of the children. Like I said the other time that it's usually, they say the ratio, suppose they're going to have 4 children, the ratio would be 1 to 1.
That's
That one of the 4 children may not have the gene, or that gene defect. 2 of them may have, but they don't present with albinism, and 1 may actually have albinism, which is what maybe sometimes shocks people, that someone may be born in a family where everybody has pigmentation in their color, in their skin, in their eyes, in their hair, and the rest of the siblings are not like that. The parents are not like that. And people get shocked. They say, oh, how does this happen? Sometimes even twins are, presenting like that. And people sometimes get shocked. How did this happen? And so on and so forth. Okay, so you're saying it's a condition that comes from a genetic defect on the production of melanin, which gives color.
That's true.
And I've since learned that there are different kinds of albinism actually, and subtypes, subgroups and subtypes and so on. But we maybe use them more, maybe to the one that it shows even the skin and the hair. But for some, and I think I've learned that for men, sometimes it may just affect the eyes only, and so on. And it's another, it's one type, and there are other groups of albinism. So there are different kinds.
That's
okay.
True. That's true.
Yes. So in your case, when did you first become aware that you were different, maybe to other people in your family? Is there anyone else with albinism in your family?
I am a firstborn in a family of 7, and I'm the only one with albinism.
Wow. 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 Firstborn in a family of 7,
Yes.
and the only one
Yes.
presenting with albinism.
Yes.
Wow, okay. And you're the firstborn.
Yes.
Okay. So when and how did you first become aware of your uniqueness in this regard?
It's maybe let me express them this way.
Yes.
Being short-sighted, that's the first thing I realized when I was, I think, at creche level or early grade 1.
Oh, okay.
Because when we could sit in class, the teacher could instruct, write things on the board, and sitting where everyone else is sitting, I could not pick anything on the board.
Wow.
So,
and you were surprised that everybody else is okay. They can see. Okay.
so it starts to affect trying to stand up, going to the board, trying to see what the teacher is writing. Yeah, it was not easy. That is what, I'm short-sighted. So at home, when I asked my mom, she simply said, yeah, we'll look for specs for you.
Oh, okay.
And then when it comes like to the skin, yeah, as we could like walk along, playing with others, because I used to enjoy what others enjoy, especially in school.
Okay, okay.
Whenever there is an activity, I could just make sure that I had to excel more than everyone.
Oh, is it so?
So at times I could just enjoy them, and competing with others and challenging others was just like it's nice.
Okay.
But now, I think at the university level, my first degree I was doing, I did at university, at UZ.
Okay, what was that in?
It was like in tourism and hospitality management.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
yes.
that is when I realized our capabilities are different.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Initially, I loved pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
But because I was short-sighted, the advice was not to go into the medical field.
Oh.
Then I had to opt for otherwise. So that's like the best option that was available. Then, in so doing, that is where you realize there are some things I can and I cannot do.
Oh.
There are some things the world can do that I am not capable of doing. And because of our maturity then, now it could make sense in the head. I think that is why it has like a greater impact.
Oh, okay. So there are some things you would wish to do and to participate in, but because of the situation, you are not able to engage or participate in.
And by virtue of that, some of things you just have now to accept, though it may be a hard one to chew, and you move on with life.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So I think Having said that, it makes us, seamlessly dovetail into the next question, which is, what are some of the challenges and maybe, if you like, frustrations that come with living with albinism? What are some of the things or limitations, that a person can have? I would want you to expand on some of the things, like you wanted to do, like maybe in the pharmacy, doing pharmacy or something like that. But the advice was maybe look for another field. So what are some of the challenges that or limitations that a person living with albinism may be faced with, or that you have run into?
Okay, thank you so much for that intelligent question. Okay, let me highlight them this way. Personally, let me highlight them this way. Number one, the skin itself, exposure to the sun. The sun is a very good enemy of an albino skin.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good to have the light.
Oh, to have the light.
It's good to have the light, but the UV light rays, because albinism is a condition where the skin itself cannot metabolize UV light rays.
Okay.
So the exposure to the sun, the UV light rays can hit straight to the skin and can cause even some blisters. And some blisters, they are painful to the extent that you may even feel like they are fire burns.
Oh, is it so?
And the fire burns, you remember, if it is a fire burn, it creates a blister. When you pop the blister, it becomes a wound. So likewise, if an hour in the sun may employ a week of suffering. 2 hours in the sun may also like go further. So the best is to avoid being in the sun at whatever cost.
So is it possible ever to do like sunbathing? Kuzambira mshana, it's something that people enjoy. So how does that happen?
Definitely, sunbathing it's necessary, but those early hours of the morning when it is not yet hot.
Oh, okay, before it gets hot.
And the way one with melanin defines what of the heat of the sun. It's different from the way I define heat on my skin.
Oh, is it so?
So, yeah, it's actually a personal challenge. So walking in the sun, a bit, I've got my own business in town, or I've got something else that I want to do, I've got a journey to walk and food, and the sun is hitting. Yeah, it's a challenge on its own. At times because of the circumstances, at times because of the life experiences, I don't have an option but to buy in and walk the journey and walk in the sun and do as others do. But if need be, there's that need for those conveniences which can reduce sun exposures. It's a personal challenge, number one, on the sun, on the skin. And on the skin also, another personal challenge that can also, it's because of the availability of what can be used to prevent the sunburns.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So, yeah.
Yes. And these are things like?
Some of them, they're usually called the sunscreens.
Okay, yes.
Not everyone, taking for example, coming from a very humble background and staying in the rural, with a very strong rural background also, you cannot quickly access those sunscreens. Sunscreens, they usually just help maintain the skin and even help the skin to not to be thoroughly or not to be hit much by the UV light rays.
Yes, they mitigate against the effects of UV light.
So the sunscreens themselves, they may actually like the strongest.
Okay.
They've got the SPF 100. That's the best.
Okay.
But if I am to buy that, it might employ. I'm not going to have half of this, the whole salary is there. Half of it is.
Wow, it's okay.
Then the second best.
So affordability
can be tricky.
Okay,
Yes.
and yet it's the best.
It's the best.
Okay.
Then number two, they call it like the sunscreen with SPF 50. SPF 50 is the second best. Coming, the SPF 30, SPF 15, SPF. So the SPF, that's the higher the SPF, the stronger the sunscreen.
Oh, okay, okay.
So also like getting those ones at times can be tricky.
Okay.
But from the outlook, the supporters can actually chip in by giving you the least they can have, at the best they can do. At times it's SPF 8, at times it's SPF 15, at times it's SPF 30, at times 50, But to see someone to offer you 100 one can be very tricky.
Okay.
But this, I think this is how God have taught me. In cases of sunburns, I don't know the SPF of pure lemon juice.
Oh,
But it has proved to be the best sunscreen for me.
is it so?
Very true.
Lemon juice.
And at times, if I had a wound, I think just taking the aloe, put it on the wound,
Okay.
can also be the very
Oh,
best
okay,
I have
the
also
aloes.
experienced.
Okay, all
So
right.
on personal challenges, yeah, those are like the two main, the sun and the sunscreens. Now, on what you call it, on the eyes,
Yes.
is the second challenge.
Okay, okay.
By-
After the skin,
after the
then
skin,
coming to the eyes.
Coming to the eyes. The eyes naturally, because the lighter the eye, it simply tells you that there are scientific names which they give.
Okay.
You can't focus on an object directly, and there's a name for that. And at times there is involuntary rapid eye movement.
Okay.
There's a scientific name for that. So all those things, you cannot avoid them. And to make matters worse, you can't see anything far.
Okay.
I
so,
can-
so like far, what do you mean far? Far like where? Like what distance would be considered far to really see an object?
Okay, let me use how they express it.
Like in a classroom, maybe?
In a classroom, okay, maybe it might be very close. If it is written on the board and I am like 2-3 meters away from the board, I can't pick it.
Woo. Okay.
I can see there is something that has been written on the board.
Okay, but
I
you can't make
read.
it out. You can't
I
read
can
it.
see that's a white chalk, that's a yellow chalk that's being used. But what is he or she noting down?
Okay.
I may not
So
explain.
this can actually also affect the learning.
As an individual.
As an
also.
individual.
And to make it not many of our instructors, both from the primary, secondary, and even tertiary institutions, are well versed with such now. So at times you become like a naughty and nonsense boy in the class.
Okay, it becomes a nuisance.
And at times it's because I want to learn. I have the passion and the zeal for learning.
And the ability.
But I cannot pick what's there.
Yeah,
And another challenge also, because I'm short-sighted, by nature my speed is also reduced.
Okay.
No matter how much I want to pick up, copying notes,
Okay.
learning.
Because it takes you time to really make out to see what's written.
That's
so
very true.
it slows you down.
Yes.
Okay.
So it slows. It slows. So about the eyes, yeah, the specs from the opticians and the ophthalmologists.
Yeah, ophthalmologists.
So
Yes.
those are like eye doctors. Yeah, the best they could offer is the specs and some little counsel, which according to their abilities they have and explain. But I have to accept I'm short-sighted. I have to accept I can't be a pilot.
Okay.
I have to accept that I have to copy with what I have. So those are like some of the challenges also with the eyes.
Okay. How about things like driving? Does it differ from one person to another?
Yeah, I think so. I used to enjoy also learning to drive.
Okay.
But recently I had an emergency op also on one of my eyes, the right eye, because of retinal detachment. It's a wound in the eye, but they give it a good name, retinal detachment.
Okay.
So the ophthalmologist can only manage the wound, but they can't remove the cause.
Oh.
So because of that, it also reduces my abilities to be driving as much as I might want to. But given the option before the op, I could learn to drive. Though I don't have like a license as yet, but I could actually enjoy learning.
Yeah, I ask because it came as a surprise, like two statistics. First of all, first of all, talking about the skin, when I learned that about like 90% of people living with albinism on our continent in Africa, they may not make it to the age of 40, maybe because of the conditions under which they are living, maybe of exposure to the sun and so on and so on. That really hit me hard. I said, wow, I mean, this is too huge a number. This is too huge a number of persons that are not, 40. you would not consider that very, old, but that's an age that many people will not reach because of the condition of, because of living with albinism. And that also, so many people that live with albinism, perhaps the majority, are also regarded as legally blind. And because of, that lack of melanin in the eyes, which then affects vision and depth when they're looking at objects and so on and so on. Yeah, so these are real challenges that people grapple with. Yeah, real challenges.
That's very true. Let me comment on these two issues that you just highlighted.
Yes.
Yeah, it's when it comes like to, actually being semi-blind, it's not easy.
Okay.
But you have to grasp it. Yeah, it's I don't know how the advocates or how the government, or when one is semi-blind, what are the measures and the privileges they may extend. But that's up to them. But also, like on the other issue that you also mentioned, albinism affects the skin, affects the eyes, affects the hair, and even some of the exposures, be it the cardiovascular system or even the respiratory system can also. But what usually causes, what usually happens with these ones, the lifespan itself with albinism is not reduced just by albinism. But now these are the things that, as an albino, you may overlook them. They can shorten the lifespan. But given the platform, knowing that my skin, it's by nature of albinism, I am exposed to cancers, I am exposed to many other lifestyle diseases, or that can be like any other thing. Taking good care of my skin should be, to me, a priority. Eating healthy should be a priority. It's not an option. I have to choose to be. For the sake of a healthy skin, and also for the sake of a healthy, what you call it, a healthy eyes. I should also learn. When God blessed me with the eyes, I should know what is the best for them. When God blessed me with a stomach, I should know how best can I take care of it. When God, so it becomes a privilege. But if these things, I eat like everyone, yet I have albinism. I dress like everyone, yet I have albinism. I do like everyone, yet I have this disadvantage, so to say. It exposes me more, and I might not reach the age of 40 or even exceed that. But given the platform, taking good care of myself. I still remember there's that statement that you usually love the most, Pastor. An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So there are some, by nature I'm exposed to cancers, but it is my prerogative to prevent them. When they come, there are some emergencies, like I told you, there was an emergency. I never planned to have a retinal detachment, but it happens in life. And at times I may not tell why God could also allow such to happen, but I have to learn that's life.
That's life. And I have a question here. Thank you so much for, what you have talked about, basically like issues of self-care, being aware of one's condition and then self-care. But, the broader principles of what you're sharing go beyond albinism. Eating well and taking care of our health and everything, like the organs, the body systems that God gave us. These go beyond albinism. But of course, in the context of persons living with albinism, we're saying that one needs to be extraordinarily careful. But I think it takes more than an individual. It takes maybe a village. It takes our society. But I want to ask a question from that angle.
All right.
That from your observations, are people mindful? Let's say people are, it could be in the rural areas, it could be at a polling booth where people are waiting in a queue, whether to receive some maize or to cast their vote. And sometimes people, there are all these winding queues in the sun, or sometimes there are shortages in the shops for staff. Do you find people generally in society being sensitive that, okay, this person is with albinism and we need to give them priority, or even service providers take note of that? Let's say, for example, when people are like in the sun, people are standing in the... do you have any experience or anything you could say?
A little knowledge is very dangerous, Pastor.
Okay, yeah.
So the best I can actually ask, I don't know how it will happen. Education is very key.
Okay, education.
It's very necessary to enlist the will, and at times even to provide that which is needed at that particular time. It's good to stand in the kill, but once I am exposed to the sun, you're putting me on a more disadvantaged.
Okay.
What the sun does, who does more, standing in the sun for at least an hour, will do me more harm than what I am about to get.
Wow.
So if given the platform, the community itself needs education. You highlighted it takes more than an individual.
Yes.
So being in the society, and we have leaders who recognize that we have people with such defects or with such disabilities. And there's that also, which I didn't mention this, but being an albino, this I have also experienced it. Naturally, it also comes with serious, what do you call it?
Is it discrimination or
loss of esteem per se?
Okay.
I don't know the term that you usually use for that one, but it affects to a largest extent. So if I come to your class, if I come to your shop, if I come to your house, and I just feel uncomfortable a bit,
Okay.
because there is always that in me,
Okay.
that I don't fit, so I'm put off more. But where I am encouraged, where I am recognized,
supported, yes.
where I am actually feel I am part of, I am at home. It gives me the courage even to do my best.
Okay.
So the best is to educate the community.
Okay, the community.
Number two, even to educate all the instructors.
Like in school, public schools and so on?
I may actually even put it as a request, if it is possible, for those, what do you call it, when they train their teachers, when they
like
train,
the teacher training colleges
yes,
and institutions like
yes,
those.
and also even like the tertiary institutions,
Okay, yeah.
and even for those. So to remind and to educate the teachers how to handle one who is semi-blind. Yes, there are schools which does with that.
Okay.
But there are also some areas, it's a community, it's a society. So it takes more from the training schools themselves to educate the teachers also from that end.
Okay.
And also to, in the working environment, to educate even the colleagues.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
In workplaces.
Yes.
All right.
The bad part of life, when the colleagues themselves, these are people whom you spend much time with, more than being home, and they don't understand who you are and how best they can help. Some instead, they even throw spanners into the machinery.
Into the machinery.
Whether consciously or subconsciously.
Or unconsciously.
So I think it takes more of them, I don't know, the authorities, or to educate.
Okay, to educate and so on.
I think it will be
and you know,
key.
I'm so happy because you are doing that right now. You know, with all this sharing that you are doing, you're actually educating all of us, our community and our society, to know that to make life, you know, we need to be mindful, we need to be thoughtful, and do whatever it is that can help, because there are those challenges. Because to somebody else just being in the sun, they may say, oh, Mshana, utori right, I'm okay, and so on. But it may actually be too hot for someone with less melanin, you know, so it becomes a challenge. So how have you managed to get to this point? Now you're doing your second degree.
Yes.
Yes. How have you managed to get to this point? I mean, what helped you to get to this point? Is it just sheer will? Is it because of the support that you got from people, encouragement? What has helped you to get to this point? Against, you know, challenges like short sight and so on, like some of those that we were mentioning that can present in the classroom.
let me call it, it's just by God's providence, Pastor.
Okay.
That's the simple I can explain it. From early childhood, even to the tertiary, people could just come, whatever that they could, and even some willing sponsors could just come, chip in, life goes on. So it gives much mileage. I can't do this, but at least with this support, be it from the family, from the outsiders, it was going to, it actually becomes even more good. And also like courage, having done A, and you still have the privilege, oh, I've been given this platform. How best can I also develop myself? Yes, funds can be a challenge, but asking for well-wishers, some are ever willing to help.
Okay.
But some, of course, when you get into a machinery, some are willing to give a hand. Some are watching.
Okay. Okay.
So
wow.
that's life.
Okay, that's life.
That's life. But to this far, and to make it more interesting, God in His own wisdom, He gives some people some other talents, some other. So step by step, you could see God's hand, and even working with other people, you could actually even learn. Some people you could because of those differences. Some you might actually want to retaliate, to fight back, or everything else. But you could actually hear from the back of the mind, God first. For this one, I think, let me hold it myself.
Okay. Wow.
For this one, don't fight with them. So
and usually some of these things come from a place of ignorance.
So to say. So to say.
Yes. And, talking about ignorance, as I was saying the other time, that it was shocking to learn of some of the challenges that people living with albinism face in East Africa, particularly Tanzania keeps coming up, and maybe Kenya. But especially Tanzania, number one, because they have a higher percentage of persons living with albinism than many other societies around the world. And then the issue of rituals and everything like that. And so people with albinism are hunted like wild animals, so that body parts are harvested and then mixed with concoctions and sold at exorbitant prices, so at very high prices for people that want to win elections. Politicians who may want to win elections, people who say they want to enhance their love lives, people who may, and it becomes such a huge, they are actually endangered and needing special protection. That's a big challenge. What kind of other challenges maybe are we faced with in the context of Zimbabwe, for example?
It's a sad reality that this is happening in Tanzania. Yeah, it's not easily welcome. Although there were some stories I once heard even here in Zimbabwe and also in Kenya about such as well. Yeah, our African traditional religions can do anything. Only the fear of the Lord can actually make a difference in one's life.
Only the fear of the Lord.
If people don't fear God, they can do anything. They will not hesitate to shed innocent blood. It's still blood.
It's still blood.
It's still, because albinism, lack of melanin, it's a privilege to have melanin. Melanin, that black pigment, some, yes, they can call them their chocolate, their dark chocolate, but it's a privilege to have melanin because you can stand in the sun. It's a privilege because you can see. It's a privilege that the sun, it's not your enemy. So the challenge that we have, people can actually cause more trauma than what the sun can do to the skin.
Wow. So
I would suggest, in the context of Zimbabwe, it takes, I think this is how I have noted it. Nothing is so powerful, Pastor, as education.
As education.
So I don't know. Yes, being in the queue and people realize that you don't need to be in the sun. But it's not easily taken like that, wherever you might be. And majority of them, just your presence is good enough to challenge them. So they might think you want to overtake them or you want something else.
Okay.
So by your presence, they are challenged.
Okay.
And they fight, though you're not prepared to fight.
Though you're not fighting with anybody, you only have a different situation that you need to manage differently.
That's very true.
And so when we don't know, we may think that not jairira or something like that and so on. Now that's not going to happen. You have to go to the back of the queue and so on. So brothers and sisters, there we are. We need to be mindful and to really pay special attention and to be, courteous and know that people living with albinism have different challenges. Things that may not be a challenge to somebody who doesn't have that condition may be huge challenges. Just like, the sun, it can be, it's a serious enemy to people living with albinism. So we need to be mindful, we need to be thoughtful, we need to make provision and to make it possible so that they do not unnecessarily suffer. We facilitate, we enable, we support them so that life is much more bearable with the condition that is already there. And so, how about issue of relationships and so on the social side of things? Is it, how do guys living with albinism find it when it comes to relationships and so on? I mean, like everybody else, you would want to, maybe at some point be in a relationship, settle down, start a family, and so on. Are there any challenges, or what happens?
That's a sensitive issue, Pastor.
Okay.
But let me express it this way.
Okay.
Life still remains life.
Okay.
I desire and I long one day to have a foretaste of heaven.
Okay.
By God's grace.
Okay.
But fans and even...
Yeah, you're speaking in idioms. Yeah, it's all right. So you would desire to have a family?
Yes. That's true.
Yes.
One thing that I have learned,
yes,
being yourself,
yes,
do your best,
okay,
and even by God's grace, without many other things, being yourself can actually win confidence of many. Doing your best, the duty that lies nearest, even those who are supposed to shun or to shy away, they can still learn, even with albinism you can be this good. Even with albinism you can still have life.
You can still have life.
So it's actually a privilege.
Okay.
So at times it's not easy to mix and mingle.
Okay.
But the more you just to prove yourself that what I can do it better.
Okay, all right.
It's a thumbs up. And the challenge in the community, I can have a loved one, but the siblings or their family from where I want might not accept. And if you're a nobody, it becomes a challenge.
Even worse.
And
so is it almost like, sorry to cut you there, almost like the experience of like black people in some countries overseas, like that the United States has had a huge challenge with the issue of racism and so on, and where they would say that as a black person, one would have to be twice better than the next white person to be considered half as good.
I think that's the principle.
Okay.
If you are an albino, and I would challenge all my fellow albinos, whatever your hand finds to do,
okay,
do your best.
Okay, all right.
I would encourage whenever you are given the platform to learn.
So in other words,
make sure
one has to kind of prove themselves. All right.
Take good care of yourself.
Okay.
love yourself, it will be easier to love the next person.
And it becomes easier to love.
Whatever your hand finds to do,
Do the
your
best.
best.
Okay.
And given the platform for improvement to develop yourself, never miss those opportunities. Take advantage.
Take advantage of the opportunities for self-improvement.
Yes. Yes.
Are there any people that live with albinism that you have looked up to over the years, or that you admire, or that you emulate?
It's not just people living with albinism.
Okay.
Even those without albinism.
Yes.
Some, they are good. You could love their intelligence. You could love how they handle themselves.
Okay, yes.
You are even challenged how they can raise up their own families.
Okay.
So if they can do it, lack of melanin cannot stop me from that.
Yes, someone said it well. I think it was Pastor Aaron Rusukira, who said melanin is not a brain fluid.
That's very true.
It's got nothing to do with the brain. I mean, at least physically. Yes. Okay, so one can excel to any height.
Yes, I do not need to live in denial that there are some things I can't do.
Okay, yes.
But I have to grasp that which I can, I have to excel.
The duty that lies nearest.
Yes, I have to excel. Yes. And for those with melanin, yeah, it's good. When you have the providence, when you have the provisions, it will be a privilege to chip in or to help in so that I can be myself soon. It will be so wonderful.
That's right. So, having talked about that, it's a question that I like posing. I'm not sure if you've exercised your mind on it. So, for persons, there are many people with melanin, but who, busy with skin bleaching. What are your thoughts when you see or hear about that? What comes to your mind, or what do you think?
Straight from school, after my first degree, God gave me the platform to work in a lifestyle center where I could, that is when I realized health without money is just a privilege to the less privileged.
Okay.
Only healthy with God can be so useful.
All right.
So, Psalms, I think 139, verse 14.
Verse 14.
I will praise thee.
Yes,
for I am fearfully
and wonderfully made.
Marvelous are thy works.
Yes.
So if you fear God, why would you want to be an atheist?
Okay.
If you fear God, why would you want to be a pantheist?
Okay.
If you fear God, be yourself.
Be yourself.
If I don't have melanin, and you have the melanin, why can't you thank God for that?
Okay.
So I would suggest bleaching. It's actually good in their context because they have certain achievement they may desire, but they don't know the consequences of such in the immediate life and even as we walk along. Skin cancers, skin diseases, and even exposure to those those chemicals can do actually more harm than good. But here is the challenge, Pastor. I had, just out of interest.
Yes.
We only have got one and only Dr. Watson Biriri. Why would you want to be like somebody else?
Okay, be yourself. Someone said, you're born original. Why die a copy?
So that's the challenge that we have in our today.
So in other words, we should have like contentment and gratitude, not just contentment and gratitude.
That is not naturally accepted now, Pastor. It requires God himself to make me, to make you realize. I don't know how God, but at times it's because of ignorance. Love yourself as you love you. What does it say, by the way?
Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
You love yourself.
Yes.
But now we are doing the opposite.
Yes.
I don't know how to express it. So in terms of bleaching, I would encourage.
Yes.
Love your neighbor as you love yourself. don't be your neighbor.
Oh, don't be your neighbor. Okay.
Be yourself.
Be yourself. Okay.
Love
All right. Yes.
your neighbor
Yes. Yes.
as you love
Yourself.
So when God blessed us with eyes,
Yes.
let's learn how to take good care of them. When God blessed us with teeth, let's learn how to take good care of them. When God blessed us with lungs,
Yes.
with the heart,
Yes.
with all the vital organs, the brain itself, let's learn how best we can take good care of them.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And by so doing, we glorify God. Yes, which I think is the basic concept in Romans chapter 12, verse 1 to 3, which talks about, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that basically you take good care of yourselves. This is your rightful form of worship. Do not be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds. So in other words, the renewing of the mind comes through like education, awareness. And when we learn that, oh, okay, this is what happens and so on. So sometimes we may emulate or try to be other things just because that's what societal trends are like. But we may need to be aware and work from a position of being informed.
That's a good challenge that you just imposed, Pastor.
Yes.
I remember the word transformed.
Yes.
I was just learning. Seeds, they become plants. That's germination.
Yes.
Eggs can become birds.
Yeah, birds.
That's
yes.
hatching.
Yes.
But now this word called transformation, a caterpillar, for it to become a butterfly, there is that transformation.
Yes.
And
yes.
that transformation, they call it metamorphosis.
Yes.
So it's not easy for us just to be caterpillars and never desire to be butterfly. Very beautiful, but hard to catch.
But I don't.
So we need that metamorphosis,
Yes.
that transformation.
Yes.
And may God implant that converting grace in each one of us.
Okay, which metamorphoses us.
Yes, may God grant us that converting grace that can transform the mind. I don't know how it will come to pass,
Yes.
but I believe by God's grace it's very possible.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. So what are the support systems or structures that are available for persons living with albinism in our communities, in our nation here? What help is there? And is there an organization? Are there organizations? What support is there?
Actually, there are a number of organizations.
Okay.
When it comes to the skin, majority of the organizations, they are made and they can supply as much skin lotions as possible.
Okay.
But majority of them, they may not educate much.
Oh, okay.
Which there is much need for
education. Oh, I see.
Just giving the sunscreen, yes, it will. But when the sunscreen is over, what's next? So many organizations, they do the support. Some organizations, but these ones are few, which doesn't concentrate on the skin, which concentrate on the eyes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can actually name them.
Okay.
Which support
Yes.
was to get an ophthalmologist,
Yes.
who specializes in the eye with the eyes, and even the opticians. Yeah, in those lines, there's little support.
There's little support.
And also, like in terms even of the education of education itself.
Okay.
I don't know how best it can be done, but if support system can be made, the same they put effort on the skin lotions, if they can do it on the eyes, if they can do it on the education.
On the education.
I believe.
A lot more people would, yeah. Because you mentioned something very powerful with regards to, let me say, the life expectancy. We can basically say that life expectancy for people with albinism in Africa is very low. But their lifespans need not be low.
Yes.
The life expectancy, we're just talking about the measure, let's say averaging the life of people, a people group, at what ages they are living up to and so on. But lifespan, it is the life that an individual actually lives. So their life expectancies are low, but their lifespans need not be low. So there are certain things that could actually be done that can be done. So we're talking about brothers and sisters, because this is us. We're talking about us. It's within our families, within our communities, and so on. We're talking about that nephew, that niece. Maybe they are way down there in Mzarabani, they're in Buhera, or wherever else. What kind of situation or condition are they living in? Is there something that could be done to better their situation? They need special protective clothing. There are these sunscreens and everything like that, the lotions. What kind of conditions are they in? Eye care, specialized eye care, and so on. We could help raise that life expectancy. You know, we could help raise that life expectancy. For now, it's uncomfortably low that so many people die at such a young age of things that could be prevented. Maybe because we have not given much attention to this, but in whatever ways we can, as individuals, as families, maybe as church communities, as nations, let's look into this. It's something that really needs our attention. It's something that needs to be addressed, because when we lose those lives, we are losing doctors, we are losing engineers, we are losing and so on and so on. We are losing human lives, not only because of what they could grow up to be, but because they are created in the image of God. And so we need to really make a difference in that regard. So there are those organizations specializing, some with eyes, skin care, and so on. Okay, but your plea is, if the same amount of support would be given to education, it would really help a lot more people living with albinism. We now need to come to the end. The clock says so. So okay. What are your words of wisdom to us as a society with regards to persons living with albinism? What are your words that you would really want to share and say, well, we cannot close this before I say these words? Please talk to us.
Thank you for that, Pastor. Mm-hmm. We should live a twofold life, mm-hmm. a life of thought mm-hmm. and action. Mm-hmm. Earnest work and sincere prayer. Mm-hmm. Once we do that, mm-hmm. I think as a nation, we can go far. Mm-hmm. To my fellow albinos, mm-hmm. whatever your hand finds to do, mm-hmm. do your best. Mm-hmm. Acknowledge God in all your ways. Mm-hmm. And never lose the opportunity to improve yourself. Mm-hmm. In that way, I believe God will always bless us. And my presence and your presence will always be a blessing.
Thank you so much for such words of wisdom that you've shared with us. We really appreciate. And I pray that by God's grace and power, these words will mean something to someone so that they be somebody. We Amen. Thank you so much for that. And you being a chaplain, that means a pastor in an institution. So we cannot let you go before you bless us. Just like Jacob said to the angel, no, you can't go until you bless us. So I'm going to request of you that you may offer a prayer for us, particularly as we think about this important subject.
Thank you for the privilege, Pastor. Mm-hmm. I will just cry like what Brother Paul mm-hmm. said from Philippians chapter 1.
Yes.
I think it's verse 9
yes.
To verse 12.
Yes.
I'll just paraphrase,
mm-hmm.
but he says, and this I pray,
mm-hmm.
that your love mm-hmm. may abound yet more and more in knowledge mm-hmm. and in all judgment, mm-hmm. that you may prove things that are excellent, mm-hmm. being filled with the fruits of the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. On verse 12, he emphasizes, I would, therefore, brethren, mm-hmm. that ye understand mm-hmm. that whatsoever things that had happened unto me mm-hmm. has fallen out, mm-hmm. rather unto the furtherance of the gospel. Mm-hmm. Let's pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, thank you for such a wonderful time and these privileges where we can come before you asking for your blessings. There are many people out there suffering from albinism. Some, they cannot be reached. Mm-hmm. Some, even within the provisions, mm-hmm. they cannot appreciate. Mm-hmm. And some, it is not the very best, which can upgrade and even make them somebody. Mm-hmm. But we are kindly pleading for your presence, for your grace. Touch each and every soul. Meet each one of them on their own grounds.
Amen.
May you also remember those with the provisions, that they may remember and keep doing their best for the less privileged. That is our earnest also and our humble prayer. For such programs, may you also remember and bless the organizers of the program. May also remember, here with me is Dr. Mbiriri. May also remember him and meet him also on his own grounds. When you remember everyone else, may also remember me in your kingdom as we pray and praise your name in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pamchinjiko wakatifira akatichenura zvitema ropa rake rakawerera mbiri kunaye mbiri kunaye mbiri kunaye ropa rake rakatisamba mbiri kunaye ruponeso runoshamisa Jesu ari kugara neni pamchinjiko akanditora mbiri kunaye mbiri kunaye mbiri kunaye ropa rake rakatisamba mbiri kunaye tsimerino zvitema ndinofarana wamariri umo Jesu andichenura mbiri kunaye mbiri kunaye mbiri kunaye ropa rake rakatisamba mbiri kunaye uya kutsimera kanaka zviunze kuna muponesi pinda monasi uperere mbiri kunaye mbiri kunaye mbiri kunaye ropa rake rakatisamba mbiri kunaye mbiri kunaye mbiri kunaye ropa rake rakatisamba mbiri kunaye ropa rake rakatisamba mbiri kunaye ropa rake rakatisamba